watching News Today. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. Coming up over the next hour, one person confirmed dead after an uncompleted building of the Grand View Hotel at Niboy Town near Acquah Pass in Acquah collapsed. Also, I had court awards man 200,000 Ghana cedis as compensation after wrongful imprisonment for 14 years. Caucasus manager Fenick shot to death at his home. I had in business, Bank of Ghana has indicated it would review some of the recent foreign exchange measures, especially those that are badly affecting businesses. Details coming up shortly. Again, you're watching News Today. Now, one person has been confirmed dead after a six-story uncompleted hotel at Niboy Town near Acquah Pass in Accra. One person has so far been rescued by the rescue team at the site. The uncompleted hotel is said to have collapsed around 3:30 a.m. Thursday morning. Security personnel made up of the police, the National Ambulance and fire service are on the ground hoping to rescue some more people trapped under the debris. Minister of Defense Mark Oyongo, who was at the site of the collapse, has called on the Works Department of Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies to ensure frequent inspections of buildings, especially stories.
So I want to appreciate the media too for bringing this incident to our attention. Thank everybody. I want to thank everybody, especially the people who live around here and who came to also give some form of assistance. I want to appreciate everybody. I hope that by close of work we would have cleared almost all the debris here. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Honorable Minister, briefly, you've been briefed about what happened here. Your initial assessment, seeing this building, an 8-story building collapse just like that. Your initial assessment when you heard it?
Well, people say it's 8, others say 10, others. But the official report I got is that it's a 4-story building, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect. I cannot speak authoritatively on the structure of the building. I can't speak on the structure of the building. What I can say is that we need to have frequent inspection, especially of story buildings in this country. You know, all the municipal, metropolitan assemblies today go around inspecting.
Also at the site of the collapsed building, Deputy Minister Water Resources, Works and Housing Samson Ahi urged members of the public to ensure they secure the necessary permits before construction.
When the Melcom one happened, there were a lot of education to the public that before you build, you have to go for the necessary documents, the necessary permits before you embark on it, because a building of this nature, I guess, if you have the plan, it will indicate whether or not we should have a resident engineer here to supervise the activities. But I'm sure that was not the case. And that's why we always call on the general public to help, because I mean, we don't have a lot of personnel around to monitor every new building which is being constructed. And so, but as I said earlier, we don't want to be judgmental now. We want to wait and then come out with a technical committee so that whatever recommendation they come up with, then we'll work with it. But it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation again. And depending on the outcome of the committee's report, if he is capable, certainly the law of the land will have its course.
And a human rights court in Accra has awarded 200,000 cedi damages to Francis Ejare, who was unlawfully detained for 14 years without trial. Ejare, who is 46 years old, was arrested on 5th January 1994 in Jamestown and was kept on remand at the Nsawan prisons for 14 years without trial. Francis Ejare was released in 2008 by Justice Korte under the Justice for All program, with the judge describing his continued remand as a breach of his fundamental human rights. His lawyer, Francis Xavier Kojososu, says the arrest and remand without trial of Francis Ejare was illegal and a flagrant breach of his client's right to personal liberty, as enshrined in Article 14, Section 1 of the 1992 Constitution. His arrest was also in breach of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, he added. He sought 2 million cedis as compensation. The court, presided over by Justice Kofi S.L. Mensah, however, awarded him 200,000 Ghana cedis in damages.
Yes, I've forgiven them. Yeah, I've forgiven them. But what I'm saying that they should be vigilant in their works. Because they train them to work. They're not trained to be arresting innocent people. And they should do investigations well. It's not good for you to arrest somebody, just beat the person up without making proper investigation. So I thank God for my release. 200,000 Ghana cedis. It is God who will show me how to invest with it. Because I'll now start my life with fresh. And I believe God will show me what to do.
News Today returns shortly. You're watching News Today. We'll come back to our earlier story where a person has been confirmed dead after a 6-story uncompleted hotel at Niboy town near Bekala Pass in Accra collapsed. One person has so far been rescued by the rescue team at the site. Meanwhile, we understand that NADMO and the regional police has been addressing the press present at the site of the collapsed building. Let's take a listen.
Here, the NADMO boss and the Accra Regional Commander, they will take turns, and the military, yes sir, they will take turns to give you briefing, state of affairs so far. So let us listen to them. The NADMO boss first.
Well, good afternoon. Once again, we are at it again about a building collapse here near this Grand View Hotel in the Acquah La Paz area. But Boy Town. Yes, precisely. And we in NADMO had the emergency call around 5 a.m. I got a call from Joy FM around 5:30, by which time our rescue teams, as 2 teams, are taking off to this scene. And then we send the emergency call to 48 Engineers Regiment, the National Security. We dispatch emergency calls to the National Fire Service, the National Ambulance, who are collaborators in this matter of rescue. So the rescue teams from these agencies assembled here, and by, I suppose, 8 a.m., we had done some rescue of 2 persons who were trapped in the rubble. We lost 1 life. The other life is trying to seek recovery in the hospital. The doctors are working very hard on getting him resuscitated and brought back to life. For us, we're trying to do the movement of the debris. And you can see the kind of congestion we have where the building collapsed. I've been told that it's reached about the 5th or 6th floor for a building which initially was 3 floors. And when we go near from this, I'll show you the joints are weak. The iron rods are not properly woven. This concrete seems better than the Melcom building collapse concrete. But you can see that it's the same pancake collapse. You can see all the floors just dropped on each other because the chains and the iron have structure is bad. So that our colleagues in the police service are on a hand.
I have in the studio with me on the same matter Daniel Kpeshie. Daniel is the past president, Ghana Institution of Surveyors. Thank you very much for Daniel for joining us on News Today. But yet again, we are faced with another collapse, and we want to make meaning of how or why a building would come down.
Well, a building would come down first if the design is faulty. Second, if the design is good, but construction is faulty. These are the two factors.
I see. Is this something you can know from the onset when you're putting up the structure so you know that you're not doing the right thing?
Well, you know, if you do the right thing, it will show. If you do the wrong thing, it will show. That's what is happening now. Because there are procedures. First, you must get a design. The design has to be approved. The structural integrity of design has to be approved to see that the thing will stand. Even if the thing is approved that it will stand, and then you go to site, you don't have proper materials, you don't have proper supervision, you don't go according to how the thing is to be done, there too you can have a problem.
I see.
Even materials, once you are constructing, some of the materials have to be tested. Your concrete that even you pour on site will have to be tested once in a while to make sure that you are going according to specification.
I see. But what has the Institution of Surveyors observed when people want to put up especially very high structures?
We as surveyors, you know, we expect people who want to put up structures, especially high-rise structures, to go through the proper procedure, get the proper people involved, like structural engineers, civil engineers, architects, surveyors, if I say surveyors, both land surveyors and quantity surveyors. We expect them to get them involved. And when they get them involved, we're sure we're going to get a proper product that this kind of thing will not happen.
What role would, since you're with the surveyors, I think we should settle down on what role the surveyors can play. Because usually when you want to buy the land, we hear people go for surveyors, but afterwards, then that's just it. But tell us the role surveyors play in the construction of buildings, especially high-rise ones.
Yes. As I said, both land surveyors and quantity surveyors. The land surveyor not only survey land, but even the structure. For it to see that when it's going high, the levels, whether they are straight or leaning, they have to let you know. To get to that you don't have leaning buildings. And the quantity surveyors normally talk about cost and project management.
Okay.
So they deal mostly in the management of the project cost-wise. But the land surveyors will ascertain that your levels are right.
What happens if you don't involve the surveyor in your construction?
If you don't involve them, first, as I told you, the land surveyor who make sure that the levels are right, you won't get your levels right. Some of the walls might be leaning, and you can see the danger when the wall is leaning. Some of the structural elements might not be straight. That's the land surveyor. The quantity surveyor, you will not get value for money. You will not get value for money.
But
so
you see, the point is, people who want to put up structures perhaps know of the surveyor, and then they are introduced to someone as the person being a surveyor. You go and the person does all the work and gives you some results, and then we start putting up our structures, our high-rise structures. How do I know that this person is good?
We would recommend that we have a secretariat, and we have a list of certified surveyors in the country.
Maybe you're a bit blue-colored, and so not blue-colored, but maybe you're a bit too white-colored, and so people can't get to you.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And well, we are all over the place. In fact, if you go to AESL, you go to Lands Commission, they are all over the place. And as I said, we have this secretariat which is open to everybody. You can call, and you'll be given that. If you know the person's name, they can always cross-check.
And if I know the name of the one I've been introduced to,
Yes.
I can cross-check with the secretariat.
Yes.
But then the secretariat is not visible at all, because I was, thinking about maybe a contact number to the secretariat, which you can't mention right now, but you are not visible. As a secretariat, you are not.
Unfortunately, if you say we are not, many a time, especially every year, when we are having our AGM, we go to studios and other places and we publicize the news about the surveying profession and where we can find us.
Only during an AGM.
But that's annual, and it's annual. And also we have conferences and seminars where we speak to the public.
But is that enough? If really we need the surveyor so we can avoid situations as this, that is not to preempt that this may have been caused by any of the things we are talking about here. But if we really need to use the professional surveyor, then we should see you more often. Seeing you once a year.
Well, as much as I agree with you, if I need a professional surveyor, I will have to look for it. I mean, and I'll ask. And definitely you ask and you know. Seek and you find.
I see. Now, let's come back to this 6-story that collapsed earlier today. What do you think about the structure itself?
I must confess that I've not gone to the site.
Right.
But I've just heard from the news. But I would suspect that for a 6-story building, there must be an involvement of a structural engineer from the word go. A structural engineer. Not only at the design stage, but even at the construction stage to supervise the work on site. So I suspect we didn't have some of these people on the site. Again, AMA is supposed to also send people to inspect this kind of thing going on in the city. Because they give the permit, and when the permit is given, I don't think they should end it at that point. They should go ahead and see whether the person is going according to what has even been approved, if it has been approved at all. So I suspect probably something like that didn't happen.
In your line of duty, is it possible for a building to just collapse in spite of the professional involvement of all stakeholders?
Naturally, if the professionals are involved, I don't see why it should collapse. That is why we are there.
I see.
I don't see why it should. People are going 50 stories, 60 stories, 100 stories high, and they are standing. Why should 6-story building collapse?
I see. I see. But is it possible that these professional people didn't do their work well? Because like you're saying, there would have been the involvement of a structural engineer from the beginning.
It's assumed. So we have to find out whether this particular structure, they were involved. Especially the private sector, when a private person is putting up a structure, who knows? He may not have gone for such a person.
Let's have a quick advice going forward for persons who want to put up structures in the future. I think we've said this time without number. Last year or last 2 years, when Malcolm came down, it was the same conversation. Let's do the right thing. Let's get the people who know the job to do the work. But we are not listening.
Yes, you are not listening. The public is not listening. And I think at times it's indiscipline. I would say either indiscipline or lawlessness. Because you are supposed to do 1, 2, 3. People don't do it. Because you don't do it, you do it to your own detriment. Because this is a loss, not only human-wise, but cost-wise as well. And unfortunately, some persons might be involved. I mean, if death occurs, it's very tragic.
And I think if people are considering the cost involved, I haven't asked you if you're expensive, because I feel that what we are seeing now is more expensive than patronizing your service as a surveyor. And that is what people should think about, and not the cost in patronizing the professional.
We don't want penny wise pound fool. You know, it's better to do the right thing from the word go.
Right. I'll say thank you very much for joining us on News Today. Daniel Kofi Ochre is Daniel Kofi Chre, right, is past president of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. Let's move on to something else now. And $100 million invested into the Kpeshie Lagoon ecological restoration project is now gone down the drain. I'll tell you why. It's because 10 years after the money was pumped into the project, there's virtually nothing to show with indication from authorities it will actually cost a lot more to achieve the initial project. MFI Wenama Chiamwa Eli reports work on the project has currently been suspended until residents of Old Fadama who are holding back the project are relocated.
Poor waste disposal, mainly by people living along the once attractive Kpeshie Lagoon in Accra, is blamed for the destruction of the landmark. Governments over the years thought it wise to restore this lagoon to its former ecologically and financially valuable status, and therefore initiated the Kpeshie Lagoon Ecological Restoration Project. It's been over a decade now since the start of this project, and the current state of the lagoon is nothing to write home about.
Even though government previously invested so much in restoring the ecology of that lagoon, to me what I say is that the money has just gone into the drain for the benefits that were supposed to derive from the project have not been derived yet, because the expectation was that at the end of the day we could have some life, especially fishes should be, at least we should be able to do some fishing, at least just like we have elsewhere. We can have it all over the world, that we can have clean water within cities. We can do navigation on it, and we have Acquah Life. Those were the vision that the government at that time had, and then sank close about $100 million at that time in restoring that lagoon. Unfortunately, the situation now, we've completely failed. It did not work.
Besides the ecological restoration initiative, the project was also intended to improve Accra's drainage, flooding and sanitation problems. But from all indications on the ground, these intentions are yet to be realized. Over $100 million was invested in the dredging of this Kpeshie Lagoon with the aim of bringing it back to life. Many years on, efforts at restoring this landmark, which is in the heart of the city of Accra, has gone down the drain. What is the reason? Pollution, poor human activities has rendered this landmark very unattractive. Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing, Vincent Opon, explains the project has been unsuccessful because of the failure to relocate the Old Fadama community.
The residents over there, we wouldn't want to go through the same problems what we had initially, but we invested money and we had to lose so much from there. So there's a plan to move business activities within that Accra area to a new site, and this thing is going to happen before even the restoration that I'm talking about even begins.
He's however optimistic. With over $600 million funding secured under the Conti project, work will resume on the dredging of the lagoon.
It's quite a huge amount that is supposed to build our drainage systems, and as part of it we are going to dredge Kpeshie.
Information reaching Joynews desk indicates Fenick, manager of controversial hip live artist called Kpeshie, has been shot. The sources say he was shot by some unknown assailants Thursday morning at his Manet Gardens residence on the Spintex Road. Ebenezer Du is a close associate of his and he's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Ebenezer. Good afternoon to you, Ebenezer. But what do you know about what happened today at Fenick's home?
Well, everything that happened today came as a surprise. So the last time I saw Fenick was Monday. So nothing bad on his house or anything like that. Only for me to get a report this morning to say Fenick was being shot in his home. So I have to rush there.
We understand some 3 weeks ago robbers were at his home. How did Fenick react to that matter in terms of the actions he may have taken?
Yeah, after that fateful incident, I met with him and he told me he made a complaint and he put his life under threat at the moment. But now it's been some days and some weeks now, so he said he's trying to be very careful. So not sure who's going to take this life.
Ebenezer, please hold the line for me. Let's talk to DSP Freeman Tete, who is with the Greater Accra Police Public Affairs Directorate. Thank you very much, DSP, for joining us on News Today.
Thank you.
So, what readings are the police making into this death already?
We've just initiated investigation into this matter. This unfortunate incident, we've not arrested anyone yet. Treatment has been taken, the body has been moved to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital morgue for preservation and autopsy. So the crime scene management team has taken charge of gathering evidence. The initial complaint was lodged with the Sakumono police, but the case will be moved to the divisional headquarters at Nungwa. They will be handling it alongside the homicide unit of the Ghana Police Service.
I see. In other words, we are not looking at this as a robbery.
Well, it's just too early to establish that it's a robbery. We don't want to speculate. We have to take our time and conduct thorough investigation into this matter. We are seeing it as a murder because life has been lost, life has been terminated. So for now, we suspect it's a suspected murder. So whether it's robbery or not, at the end of the day, life has been lost. So the bottom line is that a human life has been taken away.
I see. 3 weeks prior to this, Fenick's home had been invaded by some robbers. He made a complaint to the police. What became of that complaint? I'm saying that 3 weeks prior to this, Fenick's home was invaded by some robbers who took away as we are told, his pump gun and a television set from his home. He made a complaint to the police. What became of that?
Yes, we had a complaint from the houseboy who is not staying with him. The gentleman, the deceased, stays alone. It was in the morning around 6 a.m. when the houseboy went to check on him that he discovered that.
DSP, I'm not talking about this particular incident. I'm talking about 3 weeks prior to now.
Hello. Yes.
I'm talking about 3 weeks prior to now. I'm just gathering that indeed some robbers had invaded his home and taken away his pump gun and television sets from his home. He made a complaint to the police. What became of that complaint he made to the police?
This particular incident or this report, if it is so, has not come to my attention. So I cannot talk about it. I have to speak on things that I'm aware of.
Right. Right. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much, DSP. But do I still have Ebenezer? Hello, Ebenezer?
Yeah, hello.
Why do you think someone would want to harm Fenick?
Come again?
Why would someone want to harm Fenick?
Well, you couldn't just point at anything. You know, we all don't know the reason behind this whole murder. So all we are praying is that the police will go to the bottom of this issue so that we get results in the end.
What sort of a person was he?
Well, he's an open person. You know, he always tries to try new things in his life. He's very ambitious. So, well, that's what I can say for now.
We also know that Fenick was married, but the police tell us that he was home alone. Do we know where the rest of the family was?
Well, he's married. He's married with 2 kids. He's married. But within this week, I don't know where the wife was. So maybe it could be that the wife was traveled or the wife was not around the home at that time.
Right. Thank you very much, Ebenezer, for your time. Ebenezer Du is a close associate of the late Fenick Autry. Let's move on to business. And the year-on-year inflation rate is up from 13.8% in January to 14% in February this year, the highest since March 2010. This was as a result of housing, utility, and the upward adjustment in petroleum prices, recording a high inflation rate of 38.9%.
The monthly change rate for February 2014 was 1.1% against the 3.9% recorded in January 2014. Following recent adjustments in the prices of petroleum products, transport emerged one of the key drivers of the current inflation rate, which recorded a rate of 26.8%, above the non-food group average year-on-year inflation rate of 19%.
If fuel prices is increased by, say, 10%, the direct effect is that it causes the inflation. The 10% is a direct effect on the inflation. It will let the inflation go up by 10%, not necessarily 10%, depending on the weight. You see, but its indirect effect is the transport costs. Because you see, industry also use fuel. So once fuel price go up, it increase their cost per production. So part of it also is given to the consumers in the form of by price increases. So its indirect effect can be anything at all. You see, the same thing applies also to utilities.
He added that the automatic tariff adjustment system in place will only add to the inflationary pressure.
If a producer anticipates that there will be fuel price increases, then he will by all means factor that into his pricing. There was a time that we were increasing fuel prices once. At the beginning of the year in the budget, we calculate and estimate something. Maybe we say that within the year we expect fuel prices to increase by, say, 10% or 20%, and we put in the budget at the beginning of the year. And throughout the year, fuel price or utility price will not be increased again. So that one, once it comes once, and in the course of the year, producers knows, or sellers knows, or importers know, once fuel price will increase at the beginning of the year, they don't expect any fuel price or utility price increase again. Then they can plan very well. But as they anticipate, well, now they say the formula they are using. So people will always anticipate that there will be price increase. So that one alone can cause a lot of inflation in the country.
Food and non-alcoholic beverages group also recorded an average year-on-year inflation rate of 7.5%, with cereals and products recording 7% inflation, above the average food inflation.
Let's water this down, and Samuel Ampa, head of research at Gold Coast Fund Management, has joined us over the telephone. Hello, Sammy.
Yes, hi.
Thanks for joining us on News Today. But our inflation just hit 14%. Are you surprised?
No, I am not the least surprised. We were expecting inflation to go up even a little bit more above the 14%. You know that we have been experiencing high prices on the utilities, and then we've also been experiencing high prices when it comes to petroleum products. And you know, these are the two key variables that affected the non-food inflation for last month. So it's something that we're expecting for last month.
What then does it tell of the kind of interpretation, for instance, the everyday Ghanaian would give to workings in the economy? For instance, a lot of the measures they are putting in place to arrest the ailing economy.
Indeed, I think that inflation is one key variable that is a macroeconomic indicator which everybody will watch. It clearly tells you that some services, the prices of some goods or services are going up. And in every economy, I mean, you should also note that our economy is using an inflation target economy. So inflation is what really tells us whether we are doing well as an economy or not. In some economies where they use unemployment figures, you know, you will look at whether how many people are being employed and all that. So we are using inflation, and clearly it tells you that if goods and prices are going up, then the people, especially if you look at their standard of living and then perhaps maybe the cost of living, it clearly tells the people in an economy might not be feeling feeling very well. I mean, to put it in the right term.
But we've been putting measures in place to arrest some of these occurrences. As far as the economy managers are concerned, it means they are not working, or we are yet to see them.
We are yet, you see, what we are experiencing in terms of the prices of fuel going up, there's nothing we can do. If the price of fuel goes up, it affects a lot of things. You know, we have lived in a country where, in the past, in a budget, you will have to hear the prices of petroleum products being the main determinant of prices in the economy. Even today, we've moved on, but they still have that effect on people's perception and attitude. So if the price of fuel goes up, it definitely will have to be a reason for people to increase their price, you know. And that is the effect of what we are seeing. Government, I believe, understands that as an inflation targeting economy, when inflation goes up, a lot of people tend to think that something is not doing right. They are putting measures in place anyway, but the measures that are put in place are not going to right the wrong in the short term. It is a long-term solution.
From 13.8 to 14%, one would say it's going up, yes, but at a slow rate. Is that good enough for the country?
You know, we should look at it from the component. If you look at the non-food inflation, that is going up. And then let me digress a little bit. Look at the PPI that recorded last month. The PPI was about 23%. And if you look at the jump, you know, it is very hurting, especially for the manufacturing sector. So if the manufacturing sector is recording a PPI of more than 23%, who are going to be the direct beneficiaries of that? It is the consumer, because the consumer will then have to bear the cost of that difference. And it's clearly showing on our non-food inflation, which went up over 19%. You know, if you look at the food inflation, it tells the food prices of food is somehow stable, okay?
Right.
But the non-food, the rent, the cost, the housing, material, you know, the price of transportation and others. You know, these are the things that I believe should be of a worry for all of us.
At 13.8, the economy managers were hopeful we'll still meet our targets. At 14%, will they be joking to hope?
I still have the opinion that we might not be meeting our inflation target for 2014. It is very difficult because we still have some shocks that are expected to happen in the first half of the year. I mean, you know that government is still struggling with raising revenue. Our revenue expectations are clearly behind target, but government needs to spend. Government is struggling to meet its budget deficit. You know,
Sami, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Sami Yampa is head of research, Gold Coast Fund Management. Now, the Bank of Ghana has indicated it would review some of the recent foreign exchange measures, especially those that are badly affecting businesses. The central bank last February introduced a new set of measures aimed at stabilizing the Ghana cedi. Baba Tando brings us sports news after this.
Good afternoon. My name is Baba Tando. I have the latest in the world of sports. Kpeshie Lagoon. Now, head coach of the Black Stars, James Acquah, has returned from a 4-day trip to the United Kingdom after a brief interaction with coach Manuel Pellegrini of Manchester City ahead of his final preparations for Brazil 2014. Kpeshie arrived on Wednesday night and is expected to commence work as soon as possible as he gets his technical and tactical preparations on course. The Black Stars technical handler was in the UK early this week with his assistant Maxwell Kunedu to interact with Coach Pellegrini. The exercise is expected to enhance the knowledge of the Ghanaian coach as he gets prepared as the first Ghanaian coach to lead the Black Stars to the World Cup. The coach on his return is expected to submit a list of his technical team and other officials that will make up the team for the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Among the coaches being considered for the job are Joe Addo, Otto Addo, Masudi Dramani and veteran coach Sam Adi. Now, Barcelona last night defeated Manchester City to claim a comfortable 4-1 aggregate win in their Champions League tie. Meanwhile, former Manchester City defender Danny Mills believes the club needs to spend big on defenders if they are to compete at the top level. City were knocked out of the Champions League by Barcelona thanks in part to defensive errors from Martin Demichelis and Julian Lescott. Mills said Now, French League side Paris Saint-Germain have reached the quarter-final of the Champions League for the second successive season after beating 10-man Bayer Leverkusen. Trailing 4-0 from the first leg, Leverkusen led through Sydney Sam. Now, UEFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Bayern München over banners on show during Tuesday's Champions League draw with Arsenal. Now, European football governing body, the UEFA, has also charged the European champions over the game's late kickoff. The first banner referred to the campaign to have Kosovo officially recognized by FIFA, while the second contained offensive words and images. UEFA's control and disciplinary body will hear the case on March 20. Thanks to Carbell for making it possible to bring us sports on News Today. My name is Baba Tando. The news continues right after the break. Do stay on.
Meanwhile, a judge in South Sudan on Tuesday adjourned the hearing of 4 political detainees accused of attempting to oust the government in December and called for 7 former detainees to appear in court next week when proceedings against the alleged coup plotters resume. Justice James Alala Deng adjourned the preliminary hearing of 4 political figures who have been in detention since clashes erupted in Juba mid-December until March 19. Chinese Premier League Acquah has pledged to continue search efforts for the missing Malaysia airline flight as long as there is a glimmer of hope. His comments came as Vietnam and Malaysia investigated satellite images released by China that appear to show possible debris in the South China Sea. Flight MH370 from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing went missing late Friday. There were 239 people on board Flight 370 when it disappeared Saturday, less than an hour into a trip from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Gospel artist Acquah has made Ghana proud with his single Crazy Love. Acquah's Crazy Love is proudly sitting at number 10 of Gospel Innovations World Top 20 Gospel chart for the month of March. Watch that and show this.
The Ghanaian contemporary gospel musician Acquah is excited about his feat. He says he counts this achievement as a blessing as God has rewarded his obedience and diligence in such a way. Acquah is not the only Ghanaian artist who has been on Gospel Innovations Top 20 list. Kpeshie was also on the list last year. Acquah says he will release his debut album, Songs in the Night, in April.
Our headlines for this are: one person confirmed dead after an uncompleted building of the Grand View Hotel at Niboy Town near Acquah Pass in Acquah collapsed. Court awards damages of 200,000 Ghana cedis to Francis Ejari for wrongful imprisonment. Police launch investigation into the death of Caucasus manager Fenick. Bank of Ghana indicates it would review some of the recent foreign exchange measures, especially those that are badly affecting businesses. Find more news on myjoyonline.com. Thank you very much for staying through the hour. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.